All right, y'all. Welcome back to the Ecom Dispensary. I believe this is going to be knowledge drop number 19. Special episode for the first episode this week. We got a special interview. We've done two interviews so far in the Ecom Dispensary with Nick M1K and then Kobe Gatsby. I'm very excited to bring on a fellow Ecom Dispensary member, one of the more active and I would say probably high level people in the Ecom Dispensary. None other than Ecom Cowboy. What's up, Ecom Cowboy?
Hey man, what's up? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude, of course. Thanks for coming on. So the first question I got to ask is, who is the original Ecom Cowboy? Did I steal that from you or did you steal that from me?
Dude, so you know what? I have a feeling that you might have taken it from me because I was questioning this myself. So I did that Twitter search where you can add the person's name and type in keywords to see like the tweet history,
Uh-huh.
And the latest tweet that I could find was one that was me replying to you. And then you're like, hey, let me buy your username or whatnot. And then I think I charged you a ridiculous amount, which was like $600 or something like that.
That's funny. Yeah, I don't know. The way that I like originally got to that, I think it might have been just from seeing yours and I thought it was cool, but I was in Seattle like last year. This is probably like a little over a year ago now. And we were hanging out with some girls, and this girl said that I looked like a cowboy or something. Like she had said like I had like a mullet at the time, and like I don't know, I was just funny. And she said I looked like a 70s cowboy or something like that. And I was very flattered by that. And I figured, Ecom Cowboy just sounds like a badass name.
Yeah, it's that OG gamer tag right there.
Well, word. Well, you know what? I think it's pretty funny because, people like I've seen this happen at least once in the Telegram where you'll say something and then someone will think it's me. Um, but I think we'll let you keep the Ecom Cowboy namesake. I'll remain as just a lonely Nate Schmidt.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I get a ton of DMs. People think I'm Scotty. People think I'm you. So I'm always like, nah, man, you got the wrong guy.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Cool. Well, what should I call you? Should I call you Cowboy? Like, do you have a name that you go by, or you just want to stick
Yeah,
with
you could just
Cowboy?
call me John. That's fine.
John, got you. All right,
John.
John the Ecom Cowboy.
Sir.
So, John, what's your like? What I don't know. Like, I'm asking this because I don't even know the answer. Really, I don't really know a whole lot about you. What's your background? Like, where are you at? If you want to divulge that information, how old are you? Like, what's your background? What are you up to these days?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm 23 years old, living in sunny Arizona, born and raised here. Raised by two wonderful, hardworking immigrant parents who migrated here from Colombia, I want to say like 30 years ago. So I'm Colombian as well. My parents are. And I guess I could talk about my upbringing a little. So I
Yeah.
kind of grew up in like a rough area. It wasn't the hood per se, but it was like the semi hood, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't say that we were poor by any means. We always had food on the table, always had a roof over our head. But that was kind of like the living situation growing up. And the reason why I say that is because it's kind of thought that the only way to get out of that sort of circumstance is either by going to school or by becoming a professional athlete of some sort. So that's exactly what I did, exactly what I focused on for most of my life. I pursued soccer, I really wanted to become a professional soccer player. So I did really good in school and just used that as a vehicle for more opportunities because that's kind of how it works here in the States if you want to do soccer professionally. And yeah, man, things didn't really go as planned in soccer. And it was kind of like good timing though, because at this point I kind of realized things weren't clicking. I wasn't where I wanted to be or needed to be if I wanted to be a professional soccer player. And it was right around this time, like August of 2019. Summer semester had just ended, and I was like, dang, I don't really know what I'm going to do next if it's not soccer. But then I stumbled upon a Sebastian Georgi video,
Mhm.
And that was like my intro to e-commerce. Had never heard or read or knew anything about e-commerce. Didn't ever plan on building my own business. I was kind of opposed to it for most of my life just because I didn't feel like it fit my personality. And we can like talk more about that later if you want. And yeah, 2 weeks after watching that video, I dropped out of college because I just knew I was going to make this work and whatnot. It just felt right, you know? And that's kind of like where my e-commerce journey starts.
Dude, I love it. That sounds so familiar to what I did. Like, found this stuff, and then it wasn't quite 2 weeks to like from the time that I found all this stuff to the time that I dropped out, but it like very similar story. Like I dropped out before I was, making any sort of real money. Um, and just kind of like, I don't know, just like force myself to figure it out.
Yeah, definitely.
Interesting. Okay. So that was 2 years ago or so.
Yeah, it's coming up on 2 years pretty soon from the
Okay.
time where I watched that video.
What do you remember which video it was?
I remember he was talking about something, I could be totally wrong, but based off of my memory, he was speaking about how he was taking care of some like older people at the time. That was his job. And while he was working at his job, he was making like a ton of money with his Shopify store. And I was like, wait, what? This is wild. How is he doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the video was something related to that. It was just he was just talking about how he's making money online, and I didn't know that was a thing at all.
Got you. Have you ever met Sebastian? Because he's out in Arizona too.
Yeah, no, I've never met him. I actually saw one of the photos that he posted the other day. It was like with the downtown background, and I live downtown too. So who knows? Maybe we'll run into each other someday. He seems pretty cool.
Yeah, man. If you ever want an intro, let me know. He's a great dude.
Yeah, for sure, man.
I love going out there. I usually go out there and hang out with him at least once or twice a year. It's always a blast. I love it out there, man. I love
Yeah.
the
Oh yeah, you're
Scottsdale,
golfing out here,
Tempe,
right?
Phoenix
There's a
area.
ton of good golf courses.
Yeah, dude, there's so much good golf. Last time I was out there, we went and played. It's crazy expensive out there compared to what it is where I live in North Carolina, but the courses are just in absolutely pristine condition.
Oh, okay. Dude, did you hit the one up in Sedona?
No, dude. So that's definitely on my bucket list. I've actually never
Oh,
been up to Sedona.
oh, okay. Yeah, man. Looks very tight.
Word, word. So walk me through. You dropped out of college like 2 weeks after you watched that video from Sebastian. Walk me through how it went from there.
So it was a lot of consuming at first, probably more than I should have. I think I really consumed for like a month and a half without much action.
Just like
And
watching videos, reading
yeah,
articles
just
and
trying
stuff
to
like that.
understand shit. Yeah, stuff like that. And then and then I started opening stores, started running products, and I wasn't testing. I was probably testing like a product a month, which is, like if you're like starting off, I just didn't know what I was supposed to do. But if you're starting off, like you should be testing way more than that. But I feel like that's why it took me so long. It took me like 8 months to hit my first profitable store. That's because I just wasn't doing the right things. But once I started focusing on the right things, which are like testing products in the beginning and, more ads, better marketing and whatnot, then it only took, so like August to December was like my very, very beginner phase. And then once like January hit, I feel like things started clicking more and I started getting closer in my attempts. And then from January to like April is when I got my first profitable store.
Word. So it took you. I think that's a big like question people have is like, how long can I expect this to take? Which is like kind of a dumb question because it's like
Yeah.
it takes as long as it takes.
Mm.
But it definitely is interesting to hear from someone who's successful now how long it took from the beginning. So you'd say like 8 months or so until like from the time that you initially started actually like putting in decent effort until the time that you had a profitable store.
Yeah. So August to December is 8 months, I believe. But if we just count like just straight up effort and like doing things right, like 4 months. And
Got
the
you.
thing that changed for me the most, I read it in the boron letters. Gary Halper, he mentioned like some product research criteria, like even back then with how he would find, I'm pretty sure it was in the boron letters. Maybe it was just in his newsletter, but he was talking about some criteria that he used to find products to sell. And I think the only 2 points were recency and demand.
Mhm.
And I wasn't doing that prior. I was just like finding a product that I thought looked cool or that I liked, and then I was like, yeah, I'm gonna try to sell this. But it wasn't until I started trying to sell things that were recently in demand that I started getting closer hits.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay. So then that first store started popping off. Walk me through that. How did that go from the time that, you got it profitable, and, are you still running that store? Is that, is that something that fell off, or, what kind of happened with that?
Yeah, so I was chilling, scrolling on Instagram, and I saw this ad. It was for this. I'll just say the product. It was this solo soccer trainer thing. So I played a lot of soccer. I actually had this product in my closet, and I saw this
Mm,
ad, and it had like 1 million views, and I was like, wait, what? Like these guys are killing it. I could just go and like record myself, fucking using the thing, and then mash up some ads and pop up a store, and that's exactly what I did. So like 2 days later, I was up and running, and then that was my first profitable store. And yeah, it was just this thing where you wrap around your waist, and it's like an elastic band, and you attach the soccer ball to like this little harness thing,
mm-hmm.
and you just like you can pass it. If you kick it, it'll come back to you, so you can like pass a ball on your own. And that's
Gotcha.
how I found that first product. It was just an ad that I came across, and yeah, it was profitable on the first day, and it was like a very trendy product though, so I only ran that for like 2 months. I didn't do a whole lot of revenue either, but it was definitely like a good first win and a good learning experience.
Definitely, definitely. That's pretty interesting. Like, I feel like that's a really common way of finding products, is just like freaking looking at the ads that you're seeing. But it was also pretty cool that it's something that was like so directly relevant to you and your interests.
Yeah. Yeah, just right time, right place type of thing.
Okay. So then what happened from there?
So that product died down. I also had some issues with that product because it was just a shitty product. It started snapping on people. Like I feel like I legit could have gotten sued because some little kid, this mom was emailing me because I was doing the customer service for that store because I only ran it for a little while. And the mom emailed and she's like, hey, like my son was using it. He kicked the ball, the elastic came back, and it stretches like pretty far. I think like 15 feet. So it came from like 15 feet, came lashing at his like at his thigh or something, and it cut him. And she sent me a photo of the gash. It wasn't huge, but it was still like it cut him and he was bleeding. I was like, dude, I can't fucking run this anymore. Like this is dangerous. So I got tired of it, and then results also started dipping around that time. Not to the point where it was unprofitable. I was like, let me just cut this before anything serious. Like, actually, that was pretty serious, but anything worse happens. Yeah.
Okay. And then from there, did you start a new store?
Oh yeah, yeah. For some reason, I took like a month break after that, and then I popped up a new store, saw something that I thought would do well, had a good idea, and this was in August of last year. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the current brand that I've been running since. So it's about to be a year soon. Wait, was it? It might have been July, August or July.
Okay.
Yeah. So
So
I've
like
just been
10,
running
11
that
months.
brand. Yeah, about just about.
Word. Did you find that product? Obviously, if you're running that brand, you don't have to mention what the actual product is, but did you like, how did you find that one? Was that a similar way to the first one?
No, that one was more of a like a research, market research approach, like finding a good market and seeing what they're buying and checking if there is some sort of demand for that. And yeah, just improving on finding like some sort of opportunity, improving on what competitors are doing or are not doing.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, dude, it's been working pretty well since. I think I actually haven't checked my revenue in like a couple weeks, I think. I might have hit 1 million. I should probably check like later. But yeah, we're like right really close to 7 figures.
That's dope, dude. Congrats. That's a big milestone.
Thanks, man.
Cool. So then, I mean, I'm kind of curious. Like, I want to ask you some other questions and kind of get your take on certain things and kind of what you think is important in ecom and all that kind of thing. But I'm also curious, like, kind of the road from the time that you started this brand up until now. How that's gone. how gradually or how fast you were able to scale the way that you're fulfilling your orders and, just all that kind of thing?
Yeah, so the first couple months of the brand were a lot of offer testing. So that was probably the main thing that made things start clicking. Like for example, the first offer I ran was just like a simple 50% off, and it was profitable, but it was kind of questionable. So then I started running some other things, like for example, I ran like a buy one get one free, and immediately that did way better to the point where I could actually start scaling up. I didn't scale to a very high amount because I was drop shipping, and I also wanted to take it slow. But after I also tested some more offers after that one, even though that was doing well, because I wanted to get a better result. And I ended up finding something that increased our conversion rate and our average order value like pretty significantly. So I've been running that offer since. That's kind of been the main driver. Testing ads. I mean, you guys always talk about it. I don't want to repeat the same thing over and over, but it's exactly testing offers, testing ads, all those fundamental things. And I drop shipped up until like I want to say it was the first 400K. And the only reason why I did is because my supplier was very solid, and I maintained a feedback score of like 4.7 throughout that whole drop shipping stage.
Wow.
So yeah,
That's extremely impressive.
yeah. So, and we're just on top of customer service and just making sure like if the customers don't like something, just fucking refund them and just not thinking too short term, thinking about the long term. What else has been a key factor? Ads, getting content, basically all the same stuff. And I made the transition to a 3PL that's actually here pretty close. So I actually visit them quite often. I'm gonna go over tomorrow actually and see how things are going and whatnot because we're introducing some new SKUs. So I want to check those out and just
Wait,
talk
I
to them a
wonder if it's
bit.
the same one that we're using because ours is in Arizona as well. We should talk
No,
about
it's
it
not.
afterwards.
It's not. But because the one I'm working with, I'm the only. So it's this dude who is also in e-commerce and he's doing ridiculous numbers. But I happened to message him on Facebook. I just got lucky, honestly. So I saw him in a Facebook group, and I saw him. It was this indoor soccer place, and I recognized it. So I messaged him. This was probably a year ago, and I was like, "Hey, man, like, is that this indoor place here in Arizona?" And he was like, "Dude, yeah." Like, I'm. And so we started shooting the shit, started talking, whatever. I just had that contact, and then when I decided to make the switch to the 3PL, I asked him, "Hey, do you know if any 3PLs here?" And he was like, "Dude, I actually run my own fulfillment for my e-commerce brand, but I could take up another person if you're interested." So I've been working with him ever since, and it's super nice. I think it's a much better route to find. I don't know. This is just what's happened to me and what's worked for me, but it's probably a good idea to look for a low key 3PL instead of going after like a shit bob or someone who's gonna charge you a bunch of fees.
Hmm. Yeah, that's kind of been our philosophy as well. We haven't used any like big, I don't know, any big name brand 3PLs or fulfillment centers. And the one that we're working with now is definitely, I mean, it's not, it doesn't sound like it's quite as like a, I don't know, like a singular focused operation as the one you're working with,
Mm,
but it's definitely a smaller one. And they've been great. They've provided a really great level of service, and it's worked out well.
that's cool, man. Do you guys only work with one 3PL or multiple?
Right now, just one. We
Oh
actually
yeah.
just switched to that one in Arizona within the last couple months, and yeah, we were using a different one out in Wisconsin for a while, but their shipping times weren't very great. They were like, it was like 3 to 7 days, and the one that we're working with now is like 2 to 5, and they also are slightly cheaper, so it works out.
Word, man. That's good.
Okay. So started this store, drop shipped for the first 400K, a lot of ad testing, offer testing, just kind of, doing those fundamental things right. And and then eventually you're able to switch over to fulfilling from the US with a 3PL. I guess fast forward to now, what is the, the operations like of your business? Is it just you and a bunch of VAs, or do you have anyone else on your team? Like what's the structure of the team, the business?
Yeah, so got VAs, of course, and then up until like 900K, it was just myself and my VAs. But I just recently hired one of my friends actually who's kind of like a video editor, and I've been teaching him how to create ads on his own. But mostly like I still have the creative direction. So I'll message him and be like, hey, like I'll we're like very organized in what we do, but like for example, we work in Notion. So we'll have a script part where it's like I just write out the copy of an ad that I want to test. I'm like, hey, can you just mash up this script into an ad and make it engaging and whatnot? Or I'll see an ad from Lumen, and then I'll just screen record and be like, hey, create an ad that looks like this for our, but like, like make it ours, whatnot. So that's kind of like I saw the direction of the marketing, but he completes the actual task for me, which saves me a ton of time because up until 900K, like I said, I was creating the ads on my own, which takes a couple hours a day.
Yeah, that's definitely a very intensive process. We have a guy on our team who basically does that exact thing as well. I think that's an interesting insight because I don't know, like it's kind of a grass is always greener kind of thing. The way that we do things and the way that our team is structured, like we have a decent amount of people on the team. And I think we're operating at maybe a slightly higher level of scale.
Mhm.
Um, but there's something to be said about like just kind of being a one man operation with a bunch of VAs. Like that is not a bad way to run a business because then you're making basically all the money.
Yeah, I like it. I don't feel like I'm overwhelmed by any sorts. Like I don't work more than like 5 hours a day.
Hmm.
So I can't complain about that. And then I also just hired an email guy to come in. I actually hired him from the dispensary. He's this dope ass dude, very like driven and stuff. So I'm super pumped to see what he's gonna do for us. Yeah, he'll be running all the email stuff and whatnot.
Oh,
And
that's
then
dope,
yeah,
dude.
so less than 5 people. Well, right now three, and then VAs. So yeah, very small team.
Dude, that's the way to do it, man. I also think there's something to be said about like when you're kind of first running a successful store, I think it's really important to just kind of be doing everything yourself for at least like, I don't know, at least like a year so that you can get an idea of like what it takes to do everything. And then cuz
Oh,
like
dude.
if you don't have, an understanding of every portion of the business at least to like a basic extent, it's going to be really tough to outsource that. I think a lot of people have this idea that they're going to get something working and then start outsourcing shit and then, just, passive income maybe like voila.
Yeah,
But then
dude, 100%. Yeah.
like if you don't have that foundation yourself, then you're not going to know what to look for in the people that you're outsourcing to. You're not going to know whether or not they're doing good work and you're not going to know how to manage them effectively. So I think it's really important upfront to get that experience. And like, I mean, I think your kind of story, your situation is a great indication of like what's possible, even just if you're just kind of like a one man band with, a few people around you. You can scale to some pretty high levels just doing things that way. You don't need a huge crazy team.
Yeah, definitely. And I see it all the time where people are just getting started and they're already asking what sort of agency they should hire, and they haven't even found their first win. And they're
Hmm.
trying to hire an email team, and they're trying to hire people to create their Shopify store. And it's just like you got to know how to do these things before you outsource them, because if you outsource, you're not even going to know if they're doing the right job.
Exactly. Exactly. And I mean, I don't think you ever get, I mean, maybe you do get to the point eventually where you're like you're too good to be in the weeds doing the dirty work. But I mean, even like, for example, like this week, like we're starting a new brand and like I myself literally built out the store yesterday and I
Yeah.
finished it up today. And like, I'm not above that for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Well, that's very interesting. What would you say um, are kind of like we've touched on this a little bit, but like what are kind of the key factors you think that are the reason that you've been able to be successful in this? Because obviously, like a lot of people try their hand at this stuff. Um, there's a lot of people that want to make a living doing this cool thing we call ecom. and you're kind of at that point now. What do you think are the main reasons that you were able to be successful while so many people tend to struggle?
So I think, of course, mindset is critical. I have like probably like borderline delusional self-belief where I just feel like I could do whatever I want if I really put the effort in and focused on improving that. So I kind of knew that from the start, which is like why I dropped out so early, because I knew if I just devoted singular focus to this, that I would make it work eventually. But besides like mindset stuff, I'd say the reasons why it's been successful is because I've just been keeping it simple, like I'm not selling anything crazy. I'm selling something that's very like if you saw it, you wouldn't really expect that to do seven figures in revenue,
Hmm.
but it solves a problem. And I'm marketing to a passionate niche using direct response marketing. So it just kind of like those very simple things can be super effective when they're done right.
Dude, I agree, man. I agree. I mean, it sounds like your strategy and the way that you're doing things is pretty similar to the way that we do things. Not quite as much focusing on trying to find like a big trendy product or anything. Just kind of going with a solid market that is just, you kind of already know ahead of time that it's solid, and then figuring out like what those people are buying, what they want, and just kind of put it in front of them with some good marketing.
Yeah, definitely. The way I think about business has definitely been shaped by you and Scotty, because I've been listening to you guys for, well, since I got started basically, and just like listening to all your products and internalizing everything you guys say. So, to any of the dudes out there who are listening, like, you don't really need anything else in what's just been given to you guys by these guys, for sure.
Dude, I love it, man. I mean, that's our entire goal. That's our entire goal. And I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of it is like, it's almost like kind of helping people unlearn things that they thought were true, that they've, seen in other places. Um, I mean, I think it just comes down to like, if you follow one strategy and only that strategy, you're a lot more likely to have success than if you're, trying to combine things from, this guy says this guy says this guy says that, and you're trying to combine all those things. Like if you can just find one source of really solid information, one main strategy, and really just go deep on that, I feel like that's probably the best way. And it doesn't necessarily have to be me and Scotty's content and the way that we do things, but it should be one, maybe two people max, I would say.
Yeah. I feel like the reason why I lean more towards you guys over other people who are putting out content is because the way you guys just approach the business resonated with me a lot more. The whole building a brand long term felt a lot better to do than running a drop shipping store for a couple months and then just churning and burning and doing that over and over again, which of course people make a ton of money doing, but it's just not for me.
Yeah, it feels, I don't know, man. Like that's kind of what I did my first store, and it doesn't feel right. Like you're
Hmm.
you're, you're just not providing like a great customer experience. You're making money, but it's not something that like you can feel good about. Like if you can't like tell people that about what you're doing and then like be proud of it, or like you can't, like someone who's, say you meet someone in person who's in your market for whatever product you sell. Like if you wouldn't go up to someone and be like, hey, you should buy our product, like this would be perfect for you. If you're like not willing to do that because you know that the business you're running is just like not going to provide a good enough experience for someone, that you would know in real life to tell them about that, then I don't know. It feels kind of weird. And like I feel like everyone wants to do something that they can be proud of, that they can tell people about.
100%, man. Totally agree.
Word. So I'm curious what the point you're at now. So you dropped out of school. Um, what's your kind of like lifestyle like these days? Are you just kind of like you got your own place? You just like bulling, you living at home? Like what's the a day in the life of Ecom Cowboy?
Did you say Bulin?
Yeah, bulling.
uh, yeah, man. I mean, on the daily, just wake up. I like doing my work early. I know some people like doing their stuff late at night, but I like doing it first thing in the morning. And then kind of just fuck around for the rest of the day, see what I want to do. I'm like really into jujitsu right now. Just got into it. And I'm also really into chess lately. I'm into like a bunch of like random shit. So I could just kind of like decide what I want to do, which is like what I always wanted to do. I just want to have the freedom to choose.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what e-commerce gets you, man, just freedom. So just having fun, living life. But yeah, I do live alone. I actually just moved to a new apartment, which is why I asked earlier if it was very echoey because it's kind of empty in here.
Oh, got you, got you.
Mhm.
That's dope, dude. That's dope. So what are we talked about this a little bit, like what are the main things that when you're, in those however many hours, those 4 or 5 hours of work that you're doing a day, like what are the main things that you're doing for your brand?
So, I mean, let me just read off my checklist for today, my to-do
Yeah,
list. So like the first thing I do every day is just P&L, and then I'd have a morning read that's something business related.
sounds
And
pretty similar to
it's,
my morning.
yeah. And then after that, the next thing I do is I send my ad guy his to-do list. And that includes like a bit of thinking like, okay, what do I actually want him to do today? What kind of ad do I want him to do today? Or what I want him to work on that will improve our business, improve our ad results. And then always run a test. So like he created 3 ads yesterday. So today I published all 3 ads. So ran those tests. And I had to do some changes to because we had this whole like landing page dilemma. So I had to do that and kind of just like tune in with my VA, see if she needs anything. Uh Kind of like it's more like maintenance at this point. Maintenance, and as Scotty was talking about the other day, just like letting things come to you while you're just
Mm-hmm.
like and you're just bouncing back. And but like I'd say before this, it was a lot more creating ads would probably be in there for sure. If you don't have an ad guy, you'd be creating ads. Or I also 10 ideas in the morning thing
Oh yeah,
that you
you've
guys
been doing
talked
that?
about. Yeah, so I actually read that in a book. It was Tools of Titans by Tim Ferriss. So I've been doing that for a while. I actually stopped recently because I just kind of got burnt out. I was just like, I don't have any more ideas at this point.
Yeah, I
But
feel the
that
same
was like
way.
that was super helpful because it was just like I put things down in front of me that are so simple and make so much sense, but I hadn't been able to like get a full grasp on them. And I had a lot of those moments, and just like the things that I've written down in that notebook, I feel like is all I really need to like grow this the next few million. Just and that's just from like idea generation. So that's really cool. Something that people can add to their to-do list. I know when I was getting started, I was always questioning like what am I supposed to do on a day to day? Because I wanted to work like 14 hours a day. And if I wasn't working that much, I felt guilty. Or so I was always
Mm-hmm.
looking for things to do. So if you're feeling like that, you could do that. That's a very good thing to add, especially if you're in the beginning of your business. And yeah, dude, the rest of it is just kind of like I had a phone call earlier, so I had to take care of that. And then I'll probably, if I wasn't on this call, I probably would have already been done with my workday. So I would have like focused on some personal stuff.
Got you. Sounds like a pretty good lifestyle, man. Sounds, I mean, really freaking similar to my lifestyle.
Yeah.
Um, and that's kind of the beautiful thing, man. Like, I think that's kind of like the big allure of ecom is it's a shit ton of front loaded work, and like there's no guarantee that anything will work or that you'll make money. But once you get something working, it's not a whole lot of like active work. The store runs on autopilot. Your ads spend 24 hours a day. Obviously you have to do things to maintain them and constantly be trying to improve what you're doing with your business, but it can be done in a few hours a day, and then you can kind of just live the rest of your life however you want to.
Yeah, definitely, man. I love it.
So what's the plan from here? What's the outlook over the next year, 2, 3, 5 years? What are you trying to accomplish, and where do you want to be?
So I feel like I have a pretty similar plan as far as like compared to your guys's. I want to make an exit on this and then just continue building brands, making exits. And I had this conversation with my buddy, who's a good friend of mine, who I actually met through. So he found me through your periscopes because I used to always watch your periscopes and like comment and shit. So he saw one of my comments and DM me, and that was my personal Twitter. And then ever since that, like, we've just been talking like every day. And he actually flew out in January and we met up and shit. So that was super cool.
That's
But
awesome.
oh wait, what was the question?
Like, goals where you want to be in a couple years.
Oh, right. And then I was talking to him about what our sort of like long-term plan is, and we both want to make exits on our current brands, and we want to work on something that we could like proudly put in our Instagram bio, like something that we really fuck with, like, oh, like founder of at whatever, and it's just this brand that like is super dope. Because I would
Mhm.
never put my current brand in my Instagram bio or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just like it would be weird. But
I
yeah, I would
feel
like
I
to work
feel
on
very
something
similarly.
passionate.
I was talking to one of my buddies last night about this exact same thing, and wanted to do something that really resonates and that's like you think is super dope that you'd really want to put your name behind.
Yeah,
Like at the point that we're at now, like we're running the business in a way where I have no problem putting my name behind it, but it's just like the market that it's in, it's just like the products that we sell, it's just like not something that I don't know. Like I would, it's not something I would put in my Instagram bio. That's for sure.
yeah, like it's something that you're kind of proud about because you built, but it's not really something that entirely resonates with you to the point where you'd want to like tell people about it. That's how I feel.
Yeah. No, I feel that. I feel that. It's kind of a struggle, man, because like I feel like that's something like the way that I kind of see that is like that's a luxury that you get of like working on something that you think is really dope. Like that's a luxury you get after you've, quote unquote made it. Like
Yeah,
once you've done well and you're kind of in a position where it doesn't really matter if you're making money right now or, if it takes however long it takes to get something working. Like that's when I feel like you get that luxury. But when you're first starting out, like you're trying to make money. And I
yeah.
mean, ideally, it'd be super cool if you could make money in a way that is something so cool that you'd put it in your Instagram bio and tell all your friends about it.
Mhm.
But that's pretty rare in my experience. That's definitely not all that common.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. So that's a plan. Just make some exits, rinse and repeat. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I really like e-commerce and like the whole marketing thing. So I don't know if I just want to like make a ton of money and then not do anything. So I feel like I always got to work on something.
Yeah, definitely got to have some sort of project going on. All right, going back a bit, I meant to ask this earlier. When you dropped out of college, or yeah, it was college, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. When you dropped out, what was the whole situation with your parents? How did that all work out? What were they thinking? And how did that all go?
Yeah. So at first, I was just telling them, hey, like I'm gonna take a semester off, but I actually dropped out. And it was kind of like cool at first. Like my parents are very supportive and like they didn't see, especially my dad, like he didn't see any progress or anything. Like he would check in with me like every month or so, be like, hey, how's it going? And all I could tell him was like I'm still working on it. I wasn't making any money for the first 8 months. So it came to a point where he was like, yo, like you got to go back to school or like you have to do something with your life. Because he
Mm-hmm.
didn't understand it. He didn't like I tried explaining to him, like, hey, this is a real opportunity. He's like, nah, man, like you have to get a degree if you want to make a good living or something. I was like, dude, like, trust me, like you don't have to. And it was kind of like that. Like it was a little discouraging, even though he had his best intentions. It
Mm-hmm.
was a little discouraging just to hear that and to like feel like your parents think you're wasting your time. So I had to deal with that. And I feel like it's just a byproduct of like you going your own way. You're just going to have to deal with those sort of things. So that was kind of the situation at home. But I mean, I'm super thankful that I could live with my parents while I was building stuff because I was only working a part-time job at a bookstore making minimum wage and all that money was going into my ads and testing. So if I couldn't live with my parents, it would make things a lot more hard.
Yeah. Yeah, that definitely is nice. And I feel like that's a luxury that, you get while being young, especially if you have a situation like that where, you have like that fallback plan. Um, that just gives you the freedom to be able to swing for the fences, like
Yeah.
you don't have to worry about, making X amount of money so that you can support yourself. Like You know, if you can live at home for a while, like I fully support that. Like that's not exactly what I did personally. I wasn't living at home at that point. I'd already moved out. Um, and actually, I mean, at that point, like I was super fortunate because my parents were even helping me pay rent at that point, even after I had dropped out, like for, you know, for a couple months before I had started making real money. Um, and it's a blessing, man. Like if you're a young person listening to this and you have that ability, like realize that that is not a luxury that most people have. Most people have to make money. They have to survive. They can't just, you know, fall back on their parents if you know, if they want to just take 6 months to a year to go really deep on something that's probably not going to produce any money for you know, again, 6 months to a year. um I think it's a beautiful thing. I think more people should take advantage of that.
Yeah, definitely.
Word. Okay. I'm trying to think. I feel like I had another question for you that just slipped my mind. I don't know. Let's switch it around. Do you have any questions for me? Anything that you were curious about or something?
Yeah, I just thought of this as we were speaking a little while ago. What do you tell people when they ask you what do you do for a living?
Oh, so
I want to know what the
this varies
sequence
a
looks
lot,
like.
honestly.
Uh-huh.
So like the last time that like the most recent time that someone asked me that I can remember, like a week or two ago, I went and played golf with some of my old fraternity buddies that I hadn't seen in a while. I saw them at the bar a couple weeks ago, and I was like, "Yo, dude, we should play some golf." And they're like, "Yeah, let's do it." So we got out, played some golf, and they know, like, you know, I do online stuff. It's not like a complete mystery to them. Like they have a vague idea of what I do, but they're, you know, basically like, you know, what are you selling? And I'm just like, I told them like the kind of like basic name of the product, like not like any specifics.
Mhm.
Um, and it like the product that we're selling right now it's hilarious. Like it's not it's something that you would think that, you know, someone like me would be making a living from. You know, then they asked like, so what's the website? You know, and then at that point I was just like, I think I just said like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Like just like kind of being a little bit mysterious. Um, sometimes like sometimes I tell people I'm unemployed. Like if I just don't give a fuck, like if it's someone that I'm just like not probably gonna talk to again, I just tell them I'm unemployed. Um, if it's someone like, I don't know, it really depends on who it is. Like if it's someone who's kind of involved in the space, then I'll, you know, I'll give them more detail. Um, if it's just someone random that I'm never going to see again, most likely I'd either tell them I'm unemployed or I tell them I do e-commerce, just like super vague like that. Usually if I tell people that I do e-commerce, their next question is like, you know, do you do it for a company or do you work for yourself? Um, you know, and then at that point I'll tell them that I work for myself. And yeah, I mean that's the basic gist. I tend to keep it somewhat vague. I don't like go around like, you know, shouting like the name of our brand or like the URL out to people. Sometimes I do share it. It depends on who it is. Especially if it's like an older person who, like, this has happened a few times where I've gone out, you know, played golf and got matched up with someone, you know, who's older, like in their 50s or 60s or 70s or retired or something. And they ask what I do, and I tell them I do e-commerce, you know, e-commerce, online marketing, something along those lines. And then if they're curious about it and they want to hear more about it, like I'll freaking show them everything. Like I don't even care if it's someone like that. I'm just like, yeah, like
Mhm.
I'll share with you everything I'm doing. Like I don't, you know, there's no real reason not to. I guess it's just like someone random like that. Um, but yeah, usually just kind of like vague answers, not really getting too specific. Definitely don't go into specifics about numbers or anything. Um, Yeah, that's about it. What about you? What's your protocol for when someone asks you that?
Yeah, so I had to think this one through and like come out with the plan because a lot of people were asking me, but and I didn't want to tell them either. And I don't really care. Like I don't have a need to like prove myself to people, be like, hey, like, yeah, I got a 7-figure ecom brand or whatever. So I just tell people that I'm in marketing and that usually like I feel like once people hear marketing, they just like don't care. Like 90% of people just don't care. They're like, oh, that's boring. So
Yeah.
most of them won't ask any more questions after that. And for the few that do, they're just like, oh, like what do you mean or whatever. I'm like, oh, like I do like digital marketing. I got my own marketing business or whatever. And then they're like, oh, that's cool. Like, what do you market? I'm like, oh, like have like less than 5 clients. But I mean, like technically I do have a marketing company, but and like I market like my LLC is like a marketing company. and
Mm-hmm.
I market for like myself. So the people who are very interested, like less than 0.5%, I end up telling them like, yeah, like I actually market for myself. Like I got my own e-commerce brand. And
Mm-hmm.
then they'll usually be like, oh, like what do you sell? And then at that point, I'm just like, yo, like that's highly classified. I can't tell. I try to keep it lighthearted though, so they're not like taking it personally.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it usually does all. They're like, oh yeah, yeah, for sure. So yeah, I like never tell people though. And even my close friends, oh shit. Hello?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah, even my close friends don't know, but I will tell them eventually. Yeah, I just like to keep it low key.
Yeah, I feel that. I think that's usually the best route because most people just like would not understand the kinds of things that we do, and there's just like I don't know. I don't know if there's a whole lot of point in explaining like breaking it all down for them. Like one, most people don't care.
Yeah.
Two, even if they did care, like would they even really understand it? Like yeah, maybe some people would, but I think just kind of keeping it vague and just like I don't know. I really do like when someone asks me that and I just kind of keep it mysterious and they're like, I
Mhm.
just know that they're so curious. Like, especially if it's in the context of something like, I don't know, like how is this kid out here playing golf at, 11 a.m. on a Monday? Like, shouldn't he be working? Or like, just if I'm, I don't know, like at the bar or something, just like dropping absolute bans on shots for absolutely no reason. Um, just like shit like that. It's just like, it's kind of fun in those kinds of situations. Um, but actually, that the last thing you said reminded me of what the question I was trying to think of earlier, which was how has everything that you've gotten into, like how has that affected your relationships with your friends, and everything like that? Like, did you have to cut a bunch of people off, like people talk about, or is your friend group like largely the same as it was before? Like, how's that kind of gone for you?
Yeah, I still got the same friends. I've always it's like kind of a cliche, and like especially when people are just getting started in like entrepreneurship, like oh, like you got to surround yourself with like-minded people, like that whole thing. Like it makes a lot of sense, but if you got good friends, like there's no need to cut ties, even just because you're doing something different, you know. And like
Yeah.
my friends that have like they're in school and like they're doing things that aren't business related, and that's totally fine. Like they're just good people, so I want to be friends with them. There's no need to get rid of them or anything. So yeah, we're still friends, still good friends. They were just here yesterday. We were chilling, and yeah.
Yeah, I'd say my experience has been pretty similar. There were definitely like some people that I kind of stopped hanging out with, just people that I was
Mm,
like not really like super tight with, that I was just kind of like drinking buddies with, especially when I was in college, like being in a fraternity. There was a bunch of dudes that I was like friends with that I just like, you know, like wasn't like, not that I like didn't like them, but I was just kind of like indifferent about, I guess. And all we really did when we hung out was just like get fucked up. So that, when I started getting serious about business, I kind of cut down on doing that, stopped hanging out with some people like that. But like my core group of homies has not really changed a whole lot at all, honestly. And most of them are not dudes who are involved in ecom. I do have one buddy who owns his own business. It's more of like a physical business, but I don't know. I think as long as you got good friends, like yeah, kind of like you were saying, like there's no need to to go cutting people off and like changing who you're hanging out with all the time. As long as you got like good friends. If you got friends who are just like kind of shitheads who don't do anything, who just like sit on the couch all day and like don't have any drive to improve themselves in any way, then I think that's a little bit of a different story. But
yeah,
ideally, you shouldn't have friends like that in the first place.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, don't let money Twitter discourage you from having normal, quote unquote, normal friends.
Yeah. That's definitely true. Don't let money Twitter, I don't know, like get you to do a lot of things, honestly.
Yeah,
You got to take all that shit with a grain of salt. It's some of it's so extreme because like people are just trying to get as much attention as they can and be as polarizing as possible, and they just put out these like blanket like fucking if this then that takes, and it's just like
mm,
you gotta apply it to your own life, and don't just take it at face value all the time.
yeah, definitely.
Well, word, dude. I think that's about all the questions that I had. Do you have anything else that you wanted to ask me?
Um, sure. So, all right, like it's been hard for us to scale. So our profit margins are pretty healthy, but once we hit around like $2,000 and we try scaling past that, it gets really difficult to stay at a good profit margin. Like it wouldn't be worth it at that point because we're making more money at a lower
Mhm.
scale, you know? So I feel like a
Are you
lot of
talking
people are,
2000 in ad spend or 2000 in rev?
yeah, ad spend.
Okay.
So I feel like a lot of people could be in that situation and maybe at a higher ad spend or a lower ad spend. Maybe you're only spending like 500 or $1,000 a day, but you feel like you can't get past this sort of you almost feel like there's a cap on your spend because just
Mhm.
going up isn't worth it. So what would you say to anyone who's experiencing that? Like what is the sort of approach there or solution?
Mhm. So I have like a fundamental take on that, and then also like kind of like a tactical hack or something that we've been doing. Um, on the fundamental side, I mean, 99% of the time, the reason for that is just because your results just aren't good enough. Like as you scale, as you scale your ad spend, your ROAS is going to go down, and that's just kind of how it goes. So in order to scale, you got to have a high ROAS. You got to be constantly working, and I think that that's really like the key thing that people don't really do is they don't like actually intentionally every single day sit down for an hour, 2 hours, and critically think about how can I improve my current results? How can I improve the ROAS at the current level of scale? If you're at a 3 ROAS, that 2000, a day in spend, how can I get that to a 3.5? And then once you get it to a 3.5, then you'll have more room to scale because then, when you scale, then say you scale to 3,000 a day in spend, then maybe it goes back down to a 3, and that's still, very profitable, percentage wise. That's really the key thing is you can't rest on your laurels. Like you got to constantly be testing new ads, got to constantly be thinking about ways that you can improve your margins. How can you get, like for us, a huge thing has been sea shipping, shipping our bulk orders from China to the US via sea versus via air. Air shipping is a lot more expensive. It's a lot faster, but it's a lot more expensive. So the more that we can ship by sea, the better our margins are going to be. That allows us to scale higher. Um, there's just a lot of little things that you can do. Like you got to really like go through your business with a fine tooth comb and see all the places where you could potentially increase your profitability by either reducing expenses or increasing revenue. And it's just like a constant process, just constant improvement every single day, over and over and over again, to just try to beat yourself from yesterday. That's like the biggest thing. But then another thing that we do also is we've been running, for one brand, we've been running ads on like 3 different ad accounts at the same time. So instead of having, one ad account at say $3,000 a day in spend, you have 3 ad accounts with $1,000 a day in spend. As far as we can tell, that we haven't had any issues with that with running multiple different ad accounts. I've done that many different times throughout my ecom career, and haven't had any issues with that. It also is probably a decent idea just for the like kind of aspect of like diversifying your Facebook ad accounts so that if one account goes down, then you still have 2 others that you can run ads on. Yeah, I mean, I'd say those are kind of the 2 main things.
That's a good idea. I'll probably try that second ad account thing. Another question. So let's say you got someone who's constantly creating new ads and they're deliberately trying to improve. So they look at ad A and they see like, oh, okay, like my hook needs some work.
Mm-hmm.
So I go and improve my hook, but things just aren't clicking. So like, how could you actually go and like, what would be a specific instruction for improving your ad results or just improving your creatives in general?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think probably the key thing that, especially like people who have video editing backgrounds or like, backgrounds like that probably don't think to do is, I mean, it's a super simple thing is just like, well, I guess going back a second, for one, like going back to the episode that we did on deliberate testing, like that's huge. Don't just like make ads and be like, okay, so we got this ad, so I'm gonna, try to edit a little bit, make it better, and see if it'll perform better. Um, Go at it really intentionally. And I think the biggest part of that is not only thinking about the actual ad, but also like what's the angle behind it? What's the main appeal that you're going for? What's the emotional pull? For any given product, there could be 5 to 10 main reasons that someone might buy that product. So I would start like, the kind of specific tactical advice I would say is like, go through and like do a bunch of research. Like go read reviews on Amazon from competitors selling similar products, go read forums, go see the things that people talk about and why they have bought this specific product or a product like it. And then make a list of those things and then go and make ads revolving around each of those things. And keep, for each ad, you just have one main idea. Like, what's the big idea for each ad? You go do your research, you write down a bunch of kind of big ideas, and then you make ads relating solely to each of those big ideas. And doing that, you go way far beyond just like taking an existing ad that's working and then just like changing the hook, like changing the first 3 seconds. Like that's something that I'm not saying like you shouldn't do that. Like that can be a good thing to do as well. But if you're trying to get dramatically better results, it's probably not going to happen just changing one little part of an existing ad. You're probably going to need an entirely new ad with an entirely new angle, some sort of big idea that you might not have tested before. I think that's really the biggest thing when it comes to like improving your ad results is you just got to be really intentional about like what's the idea behind the ad, what's the main draw. Is someone, if XYZ, or if A is the main reason that people buy this product, and that's the kind of main angle that we've been running in all of our ads. Well, what's B, C, and D? What are these potential things that, other reasons that people buy this product that I really haven't made a whole lot of ads based around? And see what you can do with that. And then it's just kind of that continuous process of seeing what the feedback is from your customers, from customers of other brands, and the reviews on forums, just doing this kind of research, seeing what people are saying, and then taking those big ideas and making ads out of them.
Definitely, man. That's a solid insight. I think that'll help a lot of people.
That really is. I mean, that's so huge, man. That's such an important thing. And because people will just go through the motions and like, they'll be like, okay, so I got to test this product. I got to test this many products. Say I got to test 3 products a month, and they'll just go through and they'll just kind of like mindlessly go through the motions without really seriously taking a second to like take a step back and be like, okay, so what's the angle here? Like, what's the main appeal? What's the draw? And if you do that, you're just kind of by default going to make better ads because your ads are going to be like targeted. They're going to be based around specific things that are likely to resonate with who you're showing them to.
Yeah, for sure.
Anything else?
Anything else? Yeah, final question. Oberlo girl, smash or pass?
Oh my Lord, dude. I almost just fucking spit out my water. Oberlo girl. I mean, she's not bad. She looks tall. I like tall girls, but she's definitely on the older side. I don't know. I think she's like I'd have to be drunk, but like smash.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. Yeah, man, that's all I got.
Word, dude. Well, I'm glad we did this. I had a great time talking with you. I think we maybe said some things that might be valuable to the people of the Ecom dispensary.
Yeah, especially that last question.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was a great question, honestly.
Wait, are we talking about the same one? The Oberlo one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good.
I was actually thinking about the one before that, but that last question,
okay.
yeah, I mean that's probably the most valuable of all the questions.
Yeah, no, that second to last one was a good one.
But yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being a part of this. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys, I don't know if I should say this, but like if you want to hit up Ecom Cowboy, just message him in the Telegram chat. Don't go and message him, personally. I get annoyed when people do that. Like people reach out to me on Telegram and like they expect like, I don't know, like me to like one-on-one respond to like everything they're saying. I'm like, dude, just chill out, man. Like we got the group, use the group. And yeah, Cowboy's in there. He's pretty active. He's putting insights in there. And yeah, it's good stuff.
Definitely, guys. Yeah, just hit me up.
Word. All right, y'all. Well, I think that'll do it for this episode. I'm not really sure exactly what we'll have for you after this because we haven't quite gotten to that point in the week yet. But you know what? We'll have something for you. We'll have something. And of course, I will see you there. Peace.